Thanks for checking out another clip of the Cashflow Contractor. We'd love to have you as a part of our audience. Click subscribe wherever you get your podcast.
You know, we've got people listening that are pretty sophisticated at AI, and we've got people who haven't even touched it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Literally, to start for somebody who hasn't touched it, I mean, say, how do you start? And I can give maybe your first query once you've downloaded is, how do I use you, chat?
Yeah.
But literally, what do I do? Because people say, uploading into what? What do you mean uploading? Or now I'm insulting some people, but there are people out there.
So a couple things. I've talked about the process that you should be using, which is by hand, then stabilize, and then eventually you'll be able to automate. That kind of gives you a vision for where you're going long term, right? And we see how that what I just outlined could completely replace an employee at some point, right? Mm-hmm. Where you don't need an estimator, right? But the thing that you need to be thinking about is 10-80-10, which is once you are getting
80-10.
80-10,
okay,
which is 10% you at the start, 80% AI, 10% you. It's no different than when you're delegating a task to a junior employee. You don't really expect them to be 100% the first year maybe that they're working, but you want to be able to coach them through 10% of it. Okay, I'm going to let you work on that and execute. And then you're going to come back and, hey, you got this wrong. That looks good. Let's work on this next time, et cetera, right? That 10-80-10 needs to be your approach to AI in all things. If you're approaching AI with, 2% you, 98% AI, you can get to that point 100%. That's when you're automating. But for the most part, don't have that mindset, or else you're just going to get frustrated. It still requires effort and work on your part. Where would I start? The most important thing, like right now, the businesses that are going to win have data. That is where you start. The more data you have, the more valuable AI will be to you. The less data you have, the more you have to rely on AI rather than on yourself, on what you have, right? So what I mean by that, previously, all of your data needed to be really structured. What do I mean by that? Well, SOPs would be your data, right? If I gave you SOPs as an employee of mine, Martin, and it was literally one single Google Doc that had every single SOP, and there was no headers it was all body copy, normal copy, no bold, no italics, just all there. And I just gave that to you, no table of contents. How frustrated would you be?
Yeah. A bit.
It would suck.
Yeah.
And so you had to work at, hey, we have to have an individual Google Doc or a Notion page or whatever you were using for every single SOP, so that it was easier to find, it was easier to organize, it was easy for the junior employee to go and find what they were looking for, and then you could link to the Google Doc, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if you did all of that stuff, that's really helpful because you have a lot of data in place and you're going to be able to leverage that with AI. But if you don't have all of that stuff, it's almost as if you do just have that single Google Doc, like I just talked about, that had everything without any formatting, AI is completely fine with that. You don't have to do all the sorting. You don't have to do all the organizing and formatting for AI. It can take a CSV file, a TXT file, a Google Doc. It can use a PDF, but I don't recommend using PDF format. Use a different one. And it can organize its thoughts. It just stores it all. It understands the formatting clearly, which is just crazy to think about. So what's valuable in terms of your data if you don't have SOPs? Something every listener right now can do is get off of Cox phone or Comcast phone, whatever business line you're using, AT&T, get off of it for your business. That is the number one thing you can do, and get onto a VoIP system like our sponsor, OpenPhone. And if you use the code that we'll put in the show notes, or the link that we use in the show notes, you're supporting our show, but you're also, I think you get a discount as well. Get onto OpenPhone. Port your number from your business line at AT&T or Cox or whatever into OpenPhone and record every single conversation. That's the first thing you can do. Because right now, all of your knowledge, all of your data is actually just in your head. You're answering customer calls. You're calling your guys out in the field. You're talking to other subcontractors or other contractors or vendors and suppliers. That's data. And that if you can just implement that one change, you'll start collecting data. And then after a month, you can export out all of your conversations, right? And you throw it into chat and you say, hey, tell me about my business. And you'll be shocked at what it knows.
Yeah.
Hey, what are some SOPs that we could generate out of these transcripts? Holy cow, we've got 50 SOPs generated right there, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what are some testimonials from customers that are positive based upon phone calls that we've had in the last month? Boom, hey, we have 13 testimonials that we can now use for marketing. Hey, what are areas of improvement that customers have mentioned and questions they have? Oh, wow, we've got 15 blog articles of frequently asked questions from real customers with our actual answer, right? There's so much that you can do with that data, but if you don't have the data, you're starting with just yourself and AI, right? So that's the one thing that I would say you can do is go and start collecting data. That means getting onto a VoIP system for your phone. And, maybe that's not a lot of what you're doing. Maybe you're talking to guys out in the field a lot. The equivalent to that would be get off of WhatsApp and get onto Slack, right? You can also use Microsoft Teams instead of Slack. You can also use Google Chat, but use a workplace communication tool like Slack. Same exact thing happens. If you're talking in there about projects nonstop, if you're messaging back and forth and people are asking questions and you're giving advice and you're linking to other, YouTube videos of how to do something so they know how to do it out in the field, you can export all of that chat history. And it's the same principle as exporting all of your conversations from OpenPhone, right? And then if you're doing virtual meetings, like I do a lot, and you're on Google Workspace, start recording and transcribing every single call, internal, external, everything. Everything is recorded. And the same principle applies. Take that, put it in a chat, and see what you can do with it. But that's where I would start. You need to be recording everything.
Okay.
Martin, you're using Plod Note, right?
Yeah. Well, for in place, I'm using Plod. I don't even know if it's called Note. It's a device that goes on my phone, records
that's the
phone
Note.
conversations or in person.
Yep.
Yeah, you had me doing this. I have a former client, but good friend down in Dallas who's in marketing. He goes, my God, you've got more content than anybody I know. Because I've written articles.
Yeah.
I have all these coaching sessions. I go, really? What content? Anyway, so we started transcribing not Zoom, but Google Meet sessions when I do remote coaching. I take that'll typically be in an hour, between 35 and 45,000 words in a transcript. I run that through a little thing I wrote for Chat GPT called Soap Notes, and it looks for certain things, subjective, objective assessment plan, the one thing that's most important, and some feedback from the last. Anyway, just has a format that I've had to modify, but it's pretty good. I get that. I send it to my client, and I send it to me, and we both got it. I was tossing the transcripts because I didn't want them junking up my Google Drive. Well, at your behest, started taking the transcripts and putting them through what we're calling article writer. And so it writes an article on every coaching session, finds something important. 60% of them right now are not very good. But I've got getting 2 or 3, and it'd take me a week to write an article. And everyone, it also has street cred. Google knows that if you're going to blog for your website, that you have AI, and so does everybody else. You could have AI completely write articles for you, 5 a day, and put them on your website. Well, Google's not going to, they're going to go, no, we can tell.
No chance.
You didn't do that. Well, I've got a date, a specific event, transcript of it. I've got a coaching website. I've got this podcast website, got my book website, got my bio and a picture on every article so that when Google comes in, they can read that and go, oh, this guy's real. This is real stuff. And it is, because I'm not beating the system. It is real. And all of a sudden, the great benefit of writing articles, which there still is, especially if they're good and useful, which was such a task, is a lot easier.
Thanks for checking out a clip from the Cashflow Contractor. We have full episodes where we go deep on topics that help you grow a construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, more money. Now, we've got other videos, other clips, but if you want to check out the full episode for this clip, you can click wherever our editor put it. It might be here, it might be there, it might be over my face, I don't know. But thank you for checking us out. We'd love to have you as a part of our audience. So subscribe or check out a full episode wherever you get podcasts.